courts are interesting places. They are great instructors. They are public instructors in the morality and values of our society. They don't always get it right. They are open to criticism. They sit in public. They should be criticised. But somehow we've got to tame the language of violence and the violent discourse. And that's the really important thing that Pamela has brought out in this book. It's a thing, it's an issue, it's a subject that goes to the heart of our governance, and therefore it's a very important issue. Silence is not an option, and the judges would never want to say that there should be no coverage, but we have to be able to respond to the language and the violent discourse that Pamela Schulz has identified and described with magnificent empirical research in this book. Now, I always believed that one should have criticism. I mean, it's no good coming here, Pamela, and saying this is a perfect book. I go through the book. I spent the whole section from Kandahar down to Malacca searching for a typo. And I thought, well, that's not going to be hard, because this is a German printing house, and they'll make a little slip. I underestimated the Germans because I found no typos whatsoever. But now that I learned from the Vice-Chancellor that this print run is sold out, I do make a suggestion for the next one. There has to be an index. I mean, this is a book which has different chapters and they deal with different issues, and an index must be produced. You've got your daughter here, and you've got granddaughters, and you've got a whole big family. They've all got to sit down and do the index for the next print run. And otherwise I'll have to denounce it in the Australian Law Journal. But it's a terrific book, and books can change your life. I mean, I launched a book on animal welfare law in Australia 2 years ago, and I learned more than I needed to know about killing of animals, and I haven't eaten meat or fowl since that moment. Books can change your life, and this is a book that really shows that something's out of joint, and that we've not got to return to silence, but we've got to get the voice of these dutiful, hard-working people to the citizens whom they serve. So, with very much pleasure, at UniSA and in its law school, for which I have such affection and respect, and in this beautiful room, and in the presence of 100 and more friends, and at the end of a very long journey, I have very much pleasure in launching Pamela Schulz, Courts and Judges on Trial, Analysing and Managing the Discourses of Disapproval. A wonderful book. Buy it.
Thank you so much, Michael. And I'd now like to ask Pamela to come and say a few words to you before calling upon Dr. Andrew Cannon and Professor Green to say a few words about the book. But Pamela perhaps can address the question raised by Mr. Kirby about the index. Pamela, over to you.
You're in deep bed. Thank you for the advice about the index, Michael. Well, I'll get my mum onto it straight away. Dear friends, dear family, my wonderful colleagues from the University of South Australia School of Communication, International Studies and Languages, the University of South Australia School of Law, and also my colleagues from Defence. Thank you for being here today. I'm honoured to be surrounded by you, by my colleagues from a whole range of areas of my life. I'm especially honoured to have the Honourable Michael Kirby, AC CMG, to come all the way from Sydney via London to introduce this book and to send it into the academic sphere. And, you know, it's just the Honourable Michael's interest in 2008 when he wrote to me and said, "I'd like to give a series of speeches, could you send me a draft of your thesis?" And I did, and the rest is history. I've had interest from as far away as the Bahamas. I'm waiting to be invited to give a lecture there. And I've had a judge ring me in tears saying somebody understands me, which is great. I also acknowledge the following people who have helped me in this journey, which began in 2003 and ended this year when the book was published by Lit Verlag in Germany and Europe. First of all, a special thank you to Dr. Jacqueline Ann Cook. Dr. Jackie is a distinguished scholar and the most marvellous supervisor. She took me in hand when I would ring at 10 o'clock at night saying, "I can't do this anymore." And she said, "Yes, you can. You're brilliant." And so is she. Dr. Andrew Cannon, Deputy Chief Magistrate of South Australia and distinguished academic, thank you very much to you, sir. You took an interest and later, along with others, supported the publication of this work, and I'm deeply grateful. To my marvellous family, my darling husband Roy, to my children, Lucy, Matthew, James and Carl, thank you for believing in a mum who could. A special thank you to my 91-year-old mum, Betty Michels, who's here today. Her love of the English language and her constant reminder of how it should be used has surely landed on me. Today's event would not have happened without the support of the School of Law and the University of South Australia. In particular, I thank Professor Pal Ahluwalia, Professor Paul Farrell, and also Ms. Leanne Steele. And special thanks to Professor Kerry Green, Head of the School of Communications, who said to me only recently, and I'm holding you to this, Kerry, you said, "I have been converted to discourse analysis as a major communications and theoretical application." And that is saying something from a journo who's turned academic. Good on you, Kerry. Today is also a special birthday for a dear friend, Ms. Penny Stratman, Official Secretary to the Governor, and it's my birthday next Monday, and occasionally we get together and share each other's birthdays. So we have a small cake later and a candle or two. I hope many of you will buy the book, but I believe this lot's been sold out, and place it on your reading lists and encourage other academics to read it so that we can expand our understanding of how language both helps and hinders public confidence and public opinion. It's a major problem with current instrumentalities facing what I call the discourse of disapproval, which leads through to the discourse of direction. Every academic journey has as its main goal making a difference and to help spark debate and continued research. My work applies a cross-disciplinary approach through research that considers linguistic, communication, justice, politics and public opinion analyses. It suggests bold ideas for the justice, media, personnel and community. As a late career researcher, this work links the mature student's stance, and I'm a living embodiment of it. Courageous, considered, and realising it's never too late to make a start. Thank you to UniSA and thank you to everyone here.